Warning, the content you're about to receive is for the sole purpose of exposing fake trainers, doctors, nutritionists, life coaches, and wellness gurus, in addition to educate them and provide you with accurate information.
Come on!
36 years ago, I became a personal trainer. My objective back then, as it is today, was to get my clients in the best shape of their lives. But in order to do that, I had to know everything about the 3 training components that were responsible for changing the body in the most efficient way. Therein lies the problem. You see, most personal trainers are absolutely incoherent about the 3 training components, and they're dead wrong in the way they train their clients. It's a real issue in the industry. So my mission today is to expose fake trainers and to inform consumers, to talk straight and to provide accurate information. What you're about to see in the upcoming video, I'm telling you, will produce profound results. I urge you to check it out. You will not be sorry. You know, I have been in the personal training business for 30 plus years. My God, what a long time that is. You know, and in those years, I've trained everybody and anybody until you came into my life. I could, you know, in fact, it woke me up this morning because I'm thinking, I mean, I've trained pro athletes in football, baseball, you know, high-level basketball, bodybuilders, you name it. But I've never trained a powerlifter. Not only that, I've never trained a female powerlifter. And I just thought this is really interesting for me. I mean, I'm certified as a level 1 coach where I can do this stuff. And so I wanted to interview you. This is Jahnavi, by the way.
Hi.
She's actually getting ready for an event, a powerlifting event. And I wanted to interview you because I want to get into the sort of the mindset of a powerlifter, you know, because as a bodybuilder, that's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
You know, and to be a powerlifter, I think is real interesting. So let me ask you, when did you decide? Well, what's your athletic background, first of all?
So the first sport I did was gymnastics, and I think that was a really tough sport, just because the coaches pushed you like you do. And then after that, I went on to dance, which wasn't really for me. I did like preseason swimming, which I hated, and then I got into weightlifting, which actually pushed me, and I could grow, so I started to like that one. So
you just from your weightlifting. So, but I'm kind of curious as to, okay, you weightlifted. So, what does that mean actually when you started weightlifting? Tell us what that means actually.
I think that's just me starting to go to the gym and starting to lift weights and learning how my body works and reacts. It was more for physique, and then.
Did you have somebody helping you at that point, or were you just kind of figuring it out on your own?
Yeah, I was just figuring it out, like YouTube videos.
Watching? Oh, okay, I gotcha. Okay, and then. So what led you into, when did you decide that the powerlifting was the way you were going to go?
I think at some point I decided that I didn't want to work out to get on stage and to be judged that way. I'd rather get judged for what I can do instead of what I'm lacking.
Interesting. That's an interesting concept. Because, you know, the thing about the sport of bodybuilding is, I think this is what you're saying, is that when you're doing bodybuilding compared to weightlifting, you're being judged on what you actually can do.
Yeah.
You know, how much weight you lift. It's pretty conclusive. In a sport like dance, ice skating, bodybuilding, you've got judges, and depending on who the judges are and what they're looking for, you may or may not fit that bill.
Yeah, and that could be like off of looks or off of just different stuff.
No,
like that.
I totally get that. You know, interesting. So you get into this powerlifting thing, and I have to tell you, from my side of it, as a trainer who has not worked with a powerlifter, I think what's really interesting and what really strikes me about you is that, you know, you have to tolerate, in order to, now that you're competing, you have to be willing to tolerate failure.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, for those of the individuals or viewers that don't know,
you're going to do a deadlift. Well, it's 3 exercises: deadlift, bench, and squat. But you're going to do, in this case, your strongest moves right now are your deadlift and your squat. And in order for you to continue, to get stronger, because you're competing not only against yourself, you're competing against other athletes.
Yeah.
That's the reality. I think the most important thing, if I'm telling you as a trainer helping you, is that the most important thing is to compete against yourself first. Get the most out of yourself. But I always like to know, and you've done that, in the meets that you're going to, like, what are they doing? It gives you a reference.
Look into the competition.
But ultimately it's about you, because if you worry about that more than worrying about developing yourself to your potential at this point, then you're going to miss out. Because you get your focus on the wrong thing. You should be focusing on you, which you're doing. But unlike bodybuilding, I mean, we all have to deal when you're putting yourself out there. You're opening yourself up to failure. So I wanted you to tell us, and how you deal with that. I mean, because I have some input on that, but tell me, this is what I find interesting about you, is how do you deal with that?
So there will be days when I go through something outside of the gym, and to get into my own flow state, I have to find some kind of way to block it out. So that can either be like through music, or through me telling myself, like, okay, I have to hit this because my goal for next week is so-and-so. And then there are days that I won't get it, and so I have to come back and do that again.
Okay, but here's what happens to athletes. Sometimes athletes, in baseball, this happens. Baseball is a head game, because you could be going good for a while, and then all of a sudden you go into a slump.
Yeah.
And then when you get into that slump, which translates over into your sport, failing to make the lift, and sometimes you have to fail more than one time to finally overcome that, And with athletes, what happens a lot of times is they don't have a short memory. And by that, I mean they just dwell on the failure to the point that the failure starts destroying them, destroying their confidence. And it kind of, I mean, you tell me, is it kind of like, does it start with your brain being in the right spot?
Yeah, it starts with your mind game, because I know for a fact that my body can do it if I think about that, but if I think that I can't, then I'll never be able to do it. So there are days where I can lift 240, and then maybe the next day I had a bad day at home, or I'm thinking too much about like a class I'm failing or something like that, and I can't even pick up 40 pounds less than my max.
Which is very interesting, because that really shows, one of the things I know over the years is that your thought is the most powerful thing in the world.
Yeah.
And that you're kind of proving that at that point, but it also works against you, because in that case, because you're thinking about something over here that's outside, in your life, that's affecting how strong, I mean, drastically different.
Yeah.
So I would say, if I'm your coach, and I think you're doing this because you're talking about, you're overcoming that by doing music. There's things that you're doing, but I think that for me, working with some high-level athletes over the years, one of the things that they learn how to do is compartmentalize. Okay, in other words, what that means is they say, okay, look, you're going to have challenges all the time in your life. You're going to have school, and you're going to have relationships that are haywire. Something there's something going on a lot of times in our lives.
Yeah.
That's almost inevitable, and so you have to deal with it. If you're able to effectively take let's just call them your problems or these issues that you might be having, if you can put them into a box, this is how I think about this thing. Compartment. It's like a compartment. Put it into a box. Give them their due, because those things are pissing you off and distracting you. And I say this: don't run away from them. You deal with them head on. It's just that you don't let them spill over out of the box and keep into the rest of your life. It's hard to do.
It is hard. The only time that it works for me is if somebody makes me really angry.
Yeah.
And then I can do good in here.
Yeah.
But other times I sort of just have to close it out. Like once I'm in the gym, that's another story, and I can deal with my problems later on.
And that's a really good thing to do. That's what you're actually doing. So it's like anything else. your body becomes its function. In your case, this is how things are kind of the same but different. The body becomes its function, and the more, repetition is the mother of skill. I know in your routine and your regimen, one of the things that we're doing with you is because your specific goal is to lift, in this case, either the squat or the deadlift. The ultimate goal is for you, for those that don't know, is to do 1 rep to win your show. The one who lifts the most weight at the end of the day. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to train exactly for that event. So it doesn't make any sense for you to be doing a lot of high reps, volume training like the bodybuilders do.
What helps though is doing everything exactly the same.
You're right.
Like you showed me. So if I do everything exactly the same from low weight, it's going to be the same when I get to a higher weight.
Exactly. And one of the things that you're doing that's going to be real, I mean, this is stuff that can help other people that are trying to do what you're doing, is what you're saying, basically repetition is the mother of skill. So what we're doing, every time that you come in, we're having you toe that line pretty close to the weight you're going to be lifting as your max, and having to perform that. And along with that is going to go, you're going to fail. Sadly. But the thing about this, and this is what I respect about you, and this is what's been surprising. I never know as a trainer what you're really made of, what your heart is, because looking at you, you're a little thing, and I thought, I'm thinking automatically, how much heart does she really have? When you told me you were powerlifting, I have to tell you, I thought, no, come on.
Aww.
And a dancer, I mean, I have these misconceptions, obviously, because what I learned about you is you're gritty, you have heart, you fail, and that's not good enough for you, and you take it to heart. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you know why? You take that, and you come back, and you bounce back. I think that's a really good lesson for anybody to learn, whether you're a powerlifter or just life, because as you go along, you don't know this yet because you're too young. Lucky for you for right now, but life's going to challenge you in a whole bunch of different ways, and you're going to be surprised how I think some of the lessons that you're learning now from your sport is going to transfer over into life. They just kind of intermingle, but you just have to be able to separate them at the right times.
Yeah, it definitely helps me deal with problems in a way where it's like, okay, am I going to overcome this, or am I going to dwell on it and let it seep into the next day and the next day after that?
That's very smart, and again, I've seen it. I've seen athletes, it destroys their career because they can't get past that. And even to the point, it's how strong the mind is. There's some baseball players that they throw the ball away, they make an error, and then after that happens, it gets into their head. It's happened to a few ball players, and all of a sudden they can't throw the ball 5 feet to the first, if they're like a second baseman.
Yeah, they just keep thinking about their failure.
Yeah, they keep thinking about that, and all you've learned is to take your failure. Failure is just a way. It's just it depends on how you look at it. It's really just a way for you to learn from that and put it into something positive, which you've done. Anyway, so this will be your first meet. Is that right? They call it meets or events?
Yeah, meets, competitions.
Competition. Okay. What are your short-term goals, and then what are your long-term goals now? As far as I know, sometimes it's hard to look into the crystal ball down that far down. But what are your goals now for
like weight-wise?
Yeah, for powerlifting. What do you want to go with this thing?
Okay, so for this month, I wrote it down. I want to squat 250, deadlift. I'm sort of just going with it. 342, so 3 times my body weight. Bench, I don't have very high expectations right now. Long term, I would say work on my weaknesses long term. So I think we talked about weakness in my hamstrings, and then in my biceps and like back of my shoulders for deadlift. That would be long term.
But as far as in the sport, would you like to compete, for example, world level? You see what I mean? I mean, what you're telling me is good stuff. I mean, as far as where you go and how high do you want to go in this?
I actually do want to qualify for nationals in my upcoming competitions. I did some calculations, and I'll have to like hit certain weights for everything. But I think that I can maybe like 6 months to a year definitely qualify.
Cool. Well, I just wanted to get you on camera today because I'm really... you inspire me, believe it or not. I mean, seriously, I'm not just saying that, because I've been around a lot of people, and very few people actually I always respect somebody who makes a commitment. They say they want to do something, because I've had a lot of people tell me, like you did when we first met, that you want to do this. I'm thinking, okay, but I also know that most of the people that make that commitment never show up and really follow through. So I'm really inspired by you, and I'm really happy to be working with you. I think you're going to do really well. I think you're a badass, to be honest with you. You really are, you know. Anyway, so I wish you luck, and I appreciate you coming on and doing this interview. You're going to have an impact on other people that'll see this.
Oh,
I appreciate
thank you.
that.
I'm excited.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for coming on.
If you want more information about this, click on that link below and go to my website. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below.